of the main issues economists find is how to incentivize students to perform better. One of the main problems in the United States currently is that college acceptances are going down, but lower income schools stay the same. They're not producing higher graduation rates or better school systems. So the purpose of my study is to identify or study a type of cost-effective program that can be implemented in schools to increase increase output and the quality of education in the United States. Now, the gap of my inquiry I will discuss further down. That relates more to where I'm conducting the survey and actually how my method is being done, and the type of positive reinforcement I'm doing. So another thing that I'm going to be focusing on is just adding to the discussion of intrinsic motivation. Now, economists, like most theories, have two sides. Some agree, you have Keynesians on one side and you have neoclassicals on the other. Now, similar with intrinsic motivation, you have economists lying on different sides. Some believe that different types of reinforcement and different types of incentives can increase intrinsic motivation, while others believe that you cannot actually alter intrinsic motivation. Now, throughout my paper, I'm defining intrinsic motivation as the inner desire to perform a task without receiving any external rewards. So my research question is, how does positive reinforcement motivation from teachers through email compliments after quizzes and before tests in math classes ranging from geometry to pre-calc affect student achievement in the high school at the Singapore American School? So to actually further understand this, I'm going to be taking a true experiment approach. And this will be quantitative experiment. So basically, I will be going to a math teacher that I've organized with, and we're going to randomly sample students from math classes ranging from geometry to pre-calc. And we are going to be giving them a positive reinforcement. Now, positive reinforcement is commonly known as social praise or verbal praise, but positive reinforcement has become the new word that is more acceptable today. So there'll be a two treatment group and it'll be a single blind. Now, by single blind, I mean the teacher will partake in the study, so she will know which students are receiving which, but the students will have no idea they are participating in this study. So after a quiz, students who are in this treatment group will receive a positive reinforced email. This will include words such as like, work hard on the next assignment, you're doing well, just continue your work in this class. So my control variables will be the type of email they receive. So all students will receive the same type of email, as well as it is the same teacher. So one of the assumptions I have to make is that using this one teacher in one class will accurately represent the entire all the students at high school in the Singapore American School, because I'm using a simple random sample, as well as the students who are put into the teacher's class underwent a simple random sample as well. So my rationale for picking this method was based on actually a research paper conducted by Deci. Now he's almost the founding father of positive reinforcement. And he did a research study that analyzed the change of intrinsic motivation in people when they received positive praises for solving difficult puzzle problems. And he defined intrinsic motivation in his research study as the amount of minutes spent, figuring out how to solve a puzzle without giving up. So in my research, I'll actually be analyzing or setting the intrinsic motivation as the time spent studying for the test. Now this will hopefully accurately represent how well they do on the test. So my results, the study is currently happening as of now, so no results have been collected, but I'm looking forward to collecting these results, and I'll be going over how I'm actually going to be analyzing these results. So as I mentioned before, there's two groups. There's a control group and a treatment group. I'll be using statistics and my knowledge behind different statistics tests to calculate the mean difference between the two groups. Now, I've talked to multiple students as well as teachers, and there's this underlying aspect of Singapore American School in math classes where technically a lot of the quiz scores are lower than their test scores. So by using the control group, I'll be able to compare the difference in the change and to see if it's significant or not. So how I will be analyzing the data. I'll be using a 2-prop z-test. So this is a statistics test where I'm actually going to be able to use the two groups. I'm going to make a new group, which is kind of the difference, and I'll be able to test from there. From there, I can use a confidence interval to kind of predict how well or how the positive reinforcement can affect or decrease intrinsic motivation in this thing. Now, in this study. Now, one of the main things that I found was difficult and is vital in my presentation and my findings is that I need to clearly state how I'm defining intrinsic motivation. Because the students are unaware that they are in the actual study, I can't ask them how intrinsically motivated they are because they can't answer that themselves, but I will be assuming that intrinsic motivation is the amount of time they spend studying, and hopefully that will reflect in their grades, whether they increase or decrease. Now, my initial thesis or hypothesis was that intrinsic motivation at Singapore American School through positive feedback and positive reinforcement will not be altered if a student receives an email compliment or not. So conclusion, ultimately my conclusion after I perform the stats test is to reject the hypothesis or fail to reject the hypothesis. Now, one of the main things I'm doing is an exploratory type of research. So I am not actually proving which program or which cost-effective program should be implemented into schools around the world to have, produce the best results. But I'm just opening up discussion to further add to the discussion of whether intrinsic motivation can be increased or decreased, and more specifically add to the discussion of positive reinforcement to see if positive reinforcement is a value to add to schools or isn't a value to add to schools. Thank you very much.